Number 10. First up we have Pastor Maldonado, also known as Crash Store Maldonado, or probably loads of other names I don't know, but here we go. Pastor Maldonado, first up on this list, made his debut in 2011 with Williams, then moved to Lotus for 2014, where he's done literally nothing since, caused bar crashing to a few people. If you didn't know, Pastor Maldonado won a race, which was of course the 2012 Spanish Grand Prix, pretty much the only time he scored points that season. Number 9. So Narain Karthikeyan is known as one of the world's worst Formula 1 drivers of all time, partially because of his terrible team choices, including HRT and the struggling Jordan in 2005. Of course, Jordan was struggling that season, which meant that he only got his points because of a lack of runners, which were, of course, only 6 due to the infamous 2005 US Grand Prix. Number 8. Somebody's going to insult me because I said Luca Badoer, but who cares? Luca Badoer was one of the world's worst Formula 1 drivers of all time. Yes, he might not be as bad as some others on this list, well, nowhere near as bad as some of the others on this list, but he did score no points during the whole of his Formula 1 career. By the way, I am going to ignore his 2009 life, let's just say, because of his Ferrari and very unknown to the characteristics of the new car, of course, which was very different to the one in 1999. Number 7. If you look at Sakon Yamamoto's career, it doesn't really spell quality. In fact, I don't think any driver's career spells quality. I mean that in the literal sense, not the metaphorical sense. But of course, Sakon Yamamoto's doesn't even do that in the metaphorical sense. Never scored a point in Formula 1 in his handful of appearances, although he did drive for teams like Spiker and HRT, of course, were 2 of the worst teams on the grid each of those seasons. His only points, including GP2, was in one GP2 race. Of course, he only got one top 10 other than that, which meant that he only got 1 points finish for a 4th place. Unusual for a Formula 1 driver, of course. Number 6. Alex Yoong is probably the worst Malaysian driver I've ever seen. He's probably the only Malaysian driver I've ever seen also. He had to undertake a qualifying program in 2002 and in the process missing a few rounds just to make sure that he's able to actually qualify for the races. Of course, he had 3 DNQs, meaning did not qualify, which meant that he was unable to race. So by missing 2 races, he was unable for a qualifying program. This meant that he must have been very slow, to be honest, and that's probably why he wasn't kept for 2003, and then they had Jos Verstappen and Justin Wilson. Number 5. Taki Inoue's results do kind of flatter him when he finished, but that was on very few occasions. In the 1994-95 seasons. He did 2 seasons, of course, while 1 race in 94 and pretty much the whole of the 1995 season. Of course, in Japan, he had his world's most famous moment when he was hit by a medical car, which was probably the most humorous thing you'll probably ever see at race. Of course, he was okay and is still alive today. His Twitter account is still quite funny. Number 4. Looking at Dallas Traz's qualifying times for the Portuguese Grand Prix, I actually noticed that he was 6 whole seconds slower than his teammate. I mean, 6 seconds. Gotta be really slow to be 6 seconds than that. And he was 5 seconds slower than Roberto Moreno in the 40. So that probably shows his qualities for life. Well, qualities for Formula 1. If he should have been in Formula 1, I should be in Formula 1, really. Of course, he did inevitably retire, thank God, due to a physical problem, which meant that he was unable to finish. I'm pretty sure people were rejoicing about that fact. Number 3. Ricardo Rossi's qualities really prompted this joke from Martin Brundle and Murray Walker.
I hate to say this, but a lot of people here are really debating whether Ricardo Rossi is Formula 1 material.
Well, it's a fairly short debate, Murray.
End of message. 3 minutes to go.
Number 2. You may think that there have been very few successful female Formula 1 drivers in the sport, and that is completely true, to be honest. Having a look at Giovanna Amati's qualifying records, she was 7 seconds slower at least 7 seconds slower in each race, and and those tracks are very short, which meant that they are very short lap times, which meant that on a longer track like Spa, she probably would have been 10, maybe 20 seconds slower, at least, which would be quite disappointing. That would be slower than even Riccardo Rossi, possibly sometimes. In fact, it would be slower than Riccardo Rossi, and possibly, in fact, it would be slower than Eric van der Poel, as he was her teammate. And finally, number 1. Okay, you could probably blame other reasons for the quality of UGE Day, which may include language and others, but there are really no excuses when you go to fail on the world stage. Of course, the world stage being San Marino, Malaysia, Albert Park, and Bahrain for UGE Day, because he didn't really reach anywhere else. But UGE Day was bad. He made multiple mistakes, and which included, I think, something in the pit stop in Bahrain. I can't remember what happened in the pit stop in Bahrain, but something definitely did happen when he was completely embarrassed, and then he had like 400 spins everywhere else, and then he was inevitably lost his super license. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.